Hey, Wayne here. Before we get started on the news, I would like to ask you to please subscribe, like, comment, and share, and that'll help my channel grow. Um, I'm going to try to do this few stories every day. I'm looking for different news sources and stuff like that. And I'm still on my learning curve, but I'm going to try to come to you guys every day. This first story says Israel says its war can both destroy Hamas and rescue hostages. Their families are less certain. I don't see how they can do that if they don't even know where they're at. They're bombing everything. Jerusalem Associated Press. The Israeli military has sought to ensure the public it can achieve the two goals of its war on Hamas simultaneously, toppling the Strip's militant rulers and rescuing some 230 hostages abducted from Israel. But as the army ramps up airstrikes and ground incursions on the blockaded enclave, laying waste to entire neighborhoods in preparation for a broader invasion, the anguished families of hostages are growing increasingly worried. Those aims will collide, with devastating consequences. Annihilating Hamas would seem to require a ground operation of unprecedented intensity, fraught with the risk of harming Israel's hostages. Saving hostages stuck inside Gaza would appear to require engagement with Hamas, a group that forever traumatized the country when it sent fighters into southern Israel to brutally kill over 1,400 people and take dozens captive on October 7th. Speaking this latest war, sparking this latest war between the bitter enemies. Over 7,700 Palestinians have been killed in the Israeli offenses, according to the Hamas Control Gaza Health Ministry. That just kills me. They're taking the terrorist word for this. The Israeli government has not described what a rescue mission could look like in a televised address late Saturday. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu acknowledged the agony of hostages' families and promised their release was an integral part of Israel's war effort, on par with its goal of destroying Hamas. Hamas political leaders are in negotiations with mediators, Egypt and Qatar, to secure the freedom of at least some trapped Israeli civilians. 4 hostages have been released so far. Anxiety over Hamas hostages reached a fever pitch Saturday as Israel intensified its air campaign and sent troops into Gaza with heavy firepower. Crowds protested outside Israel's defense ministry in Tel Aviv, demanding that Netanyahu and other officials address the fate of their loved ones. At work, Netanyahu met with the family Saturday and vowed to exercise and exhaust every possibility to bring them home. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, I think I said that right, promised to meet them Sunday for what his office described as the first official meeting with them. We are not waiting any longer, said protester Malki Shem Tov, whose 21-year-old son, Omer, is being held captive in Gaza. We want all of them back with us today. We want you, the cabinet, the government, to imagine that these are your children. The plight of the hostages has captured the nation's attention for the past 3 weeks. Israeli media are filled with stories about the hostages and interviews with their families. But all of the military options carry enormous risk. A military invasion raises the prospect of intractable warfare in densely populated cities and subterranean tunnels that could suck young soldiers into a months-long quagmire. With the hostages believed to be hidden in Hamas' sprawling tunnel network, heavy fighting raises the prospect of unmitigated chaos for soldiers and hostages alike. Late on Friday, as the Israeli military struck Gaza by air, land, and sea with a ferocity never seen before, families of hostages were on edge, acutely aware of the dangers facing their loved ones. It was a long, sleepless night, said Liat Bell Somer, a spokesperson for the families, who she said suffered from absolute uncertainty regarding the fate of the hostages held there, who were also subject to heavy bombings. The bombardment seemed to send a message to Hamas that the group thought it could avoid a devastating ground invasion because of the captives in Gaza. It was wrong. Balancing the family's interests with the military goal of destroying Hamas has presented a dilemma for Netanyahu, who is already under fire for his government's failure to prevent the worst attack in Israel history and to swiftly come to the people's aid that day. Almaz Yadlin, I hope I'm saying these names right, a retired general and former head of Israel military intelligence, said the government's challenge was to satisfy the immense public pressure both to return the hostages safely and wipe out Hamas. He insisted the goals could be reconciled if the government finds the right strategy. Both should be handled simultaneously and should support each other, Yadlin said, without elaborating. But many experts believe the best strategy to save hostages remains diplomacy. Hamas on Saturday offered Israel in exchange the release of hostages in Gaza for all Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. The plight of the prisoners is deeply emotional for Palestinians, who widely said the prisoners are freedom fighters. Israel has a long history of being two lopsided prisoner swaps. In 2011, it freed over 1,000 prisoners in exchange for Gilad Shalit, a soldier who was kidnapped and dragged across the border into Gaza. Many of those prisoners, including Hamas' top leader in Gaza, had been convicted in the killings of Israelis. If the enemy wants to end this case at once, we are ready for that, said Abu Ubaidah, the spokesman for Hamas' armed wing. Israeli military spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari was evasive. He said Hamas was engaged in the cynical exploitation of the anxieties gripping the Israeli public. But families who saw 4 women released to Israel last week following complex hostage diplomacy said they were convinced that the Israeli government had their best interest in mind. They feel like they're left behind and no one is really caring for them, said Miki Hamovitz, a former lawmaker who spoke on behalf of the hostages' families at Saturday's protest. No one is explaining what's going on. Okay, you guys let me know what you think. Should we prisoner swap, or should, I said we, the Israelis, should they prisoner swap or go on in on ground full force and go after the Hamas and try to rescue the hostages? Or well, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Okay. Okay. Washington Associated Press. As a 3-week-old Israel-Hamas war enters what Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says could be a long and difficult new stage, President Joe Biden is calling on Israel and Arab leaders to think hard about their eventual post-war reality. It's one, he argues, where they're finally finding agreement on a long-sought 2-state solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict should be a priority. There's no going back to the status quo as it stood on October 6, Biden told reporters, referring to the day before Hamas militant attacked Israel and set off the latest war. The White House says Biden conveyed the same message directly to Netanyahu during a phone call this past week. I don't think there'll ever be a 2-state solution, and it won't hold if they put one, because that's not what prophecy says it's going to happen. So, but anyway, you guys let me know what you think about that too. Drop me some comments, and please like, subscribe, comment, and share. All right. Okay, this story is from Texas. Texas is closer to giving police broad new authority to arrest migrants and order them to leave the U.S. under a bill the state has advanced Thursday, putting Republican Governor Greg Abbott on the path toward a potential new confrontation with the Biden administration over immigration. Tempers flared over the proposal in the Texas Capitol, where Hispanic Democratic lawmakers led hours of emotional protest over issues of race and the legality of the plan before House Republicans passed the bill on a party line vote before sunrise. A similar proposal has already cleared the Texas Senate, meaning Republicans must now agree on a version before sending it to Abbott's desk. I always wondered ever since it started why the states couldn't do something down here, like build their own wall or arrest the immigrants, or does it have to be just a federal thing? Can't the states look after themselves? Okay, this one's Mike Pence from Las Vegas AP. Mike Pence has a resume most White House hopefuls would dream of. a congressman, a governor, a big Midwestern state, a one-time vice president. In normal times, someone with such credentials would be well positioned to win their party's presidential nomination, but these are not normal times, and Pence's decision to end his campaign more than 2 months ago, or more than 2 months before the first contest in the Republican primary, underscores the extent to which the party has been subsumed by former President Donald Trump and his lies about the 2020 election he lost to Democrat Joe Biden. I want to put a question mark on them lies. I don't think he lied. I think it was stolen. But a lot of people think different. Pence made his surprise announcement Saturday in Las Vegas, where he and other GOP presidential hopefuls spoke at a summit sponsored by the Republican Jewish Coalition. But in many ways, Pence's campaign ended years before it officially began, in the days of leading up to January 6th. That was when Trump, desperate to hang on to power, became convinced that Pence, as president of the Senate, could somehow reject the election, a power then vice president did not possess. I didn't think he could do that either. After spending 4 years as Trump's loyal defender, Pence was suddenly cast as a traitor targeted by rioters who stormed the Capitol, some chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Angry Trump supporters crossed his name off their Trump-Pence yard signs or shoved them deep into the ground to bury his name in the dirt. While the issue became less salient as the campaign went on, Pence was heckled and booed at times. Yeah. Well, he wasn't doing good in the polls from the start. I don't think he ever picked anything on. Let me know. Let me know about that one too, guys. I think that's all I'm going to talk about today. I'll probably post some other news things that I find on the internet. You guys be good, and please like, subscribe, share, and comment. We'll see you next time.